네, 시작해 주세요.
감사합니다. Imagine it's 2030 and our trajectory is aligned with a sustainable and relentless future. Yet, observing the current predicament, this ideologic scenario is considered to be unattainable. This directly pertains to our topic, the role of Team 3, and my name is Taram Lee from Cornerstone Collegiate Academy of Seoul.
I'm Ji Hong from Seoul International School.
I'm Grace Kim from Seoul Foreign School.
I'm Yesun Lee from Hankuk Academy of Foreign Studies.
I'm Do-kyung Oh from St. James School in Maryland.
I'm So-won Yoon from Younghoon International Middle School.
Thank you. Before we commence further, we would like to acknowledge this very special opportunity to present on this vital matter. We deeply and truly appreciate the Hope to the Future Association for preparing such a program, as we have been able to forge unforgettable experiences that will surely help us in our future endeavors. Thank you to all the staff members for organizing this program, and we would especially like to thank and acknowledge the members of the board for overseeing this conference. Returning to the topic at hand, let us not forget the sobering reality facing us. Indeed, countless people have died in the year 2019. Looking at the numbers closer, how many children and adolescents do you think are included? 7.2 million young people lost their lives, and this is in fact the decline rate compared to the past. Recognizing that Unicef examines deeper to save the lives of children and prevent further deaths, it is vital for Unicef to fully advocate in treating healthcare issues that can be supported preventatively. Thus, the world should never forget that every child has the right to grow up in a safe and inclusive environment.
UNICEF, the United Nations International Children's Fund, stands to save children's lives, to defend their rights, and to help them fulfill their potential. With its efforts to alleviate the circumstances of each and every person, it utilizes both humanitarian and financial aid to support them. These are the facets UNICEF highlights currently, including vaccine distributions with COVAX facility and overall health security and well-being.
Fundamentally, amongst UNICEF's dedication to children, we will cover child protection, survival, and UNICEF in emergencies that correlate to children and adolescents' healthcare and general welfare.
Sustainable Development Goals are the 17 interconnected objectives of the United Nations. It was forged as a multilateral agreement in 2015, which needs to be attained by 2030. We are highlighting the SDG 3, good health and well-being, ensure healthy lives and promote well-being for all, particularly for children and adolescents.
To promote the SDGs, UNICEF is taking various measures with the primary objective to end preventable death and promote the health of all. In particular, for good health and well-being, amelioration in health systems, prevention of apparent death with immunization, encouragement for each nation to combat diseases, and support for the youth population has been enhanced with inclusion of extensive domains of child welfare. Before proceeding to the presentation, I would like to raise a question to you all here. Why do you believe children and adolescents are valued? How do they serve as a cornerstone in a society? Contemplating the connection, from our perspective, UNICEF and SDG 3, healthcare and general welfare for children, is fundamental in any sphere of the world, and it has the potential and numerous possibilities and implications. We of this age and time should be and is the vital connection to ensure the hope to the future with a change. 80% of the youth recognize the dire situation of current pressing sustainability issues. In addition, 30% of the youth endeavor to alleviate the dilemma by taking initiatives. With this opportunity, we, the youth, should take this contemplation even further. How can we manifest and intensify the capability of future generations? The primary and foremost means should be ensuring the welfare of the children and adolescents. Today, we hope this moment can be the place to initiate encouragement, engagement, and fulfillment from ourselves to reach out and act in our own community. As the youth envoy remarked, we should be the ones who can first engender initiatives, then the society will come to endeavor to attain the Sustainable Development Goals and objectives of UNICEF. The following is our table of contents.
Sustainable Development Goal 3. Good health and well-being is a primary necessity that all people share. If the current public health crisis proceeds relentlessly, the socio-economic sphere will collapse, putting the lives of billions of people in crisis. COVID-19 has hindered the Sustainable Development Goals 3, good health and well-being. The pandemic has exacerbated the life of a vast majority of the population, particularly children and adolescents. Not only by forcing people to confront the crisis affecting every sphere of their lives, but the pandemic has also caused overwhelmingly harmful effects in already susceptible and vulnerable neighborhoods and regions. Since the pandemic has been declared by the World Health Organization in 2020, it was inevitable that countless children and adolescents will be placed in endangered situations or even worse. COVID-19 may have caused an additional 1.2 million deaths in children under the age of 5 in low and middle income countries. We predominantly disrupt health services. Moreover, approximately 80 million children under the age of 1 might not be able to have vaccines in at least 68 countries. Despite these possible severities, UNICEF has shown its capability and responsibility on a global scale, even during the pandemic. To combat the child protection risk due to pandemic, stress, confinement, and poverty, UNICEF is not only providing children greater support, but also through magic box set programs. UNICEF has usually provided survival kits containing necessities. Now, they have added something extra. To help prevent children suffering from stress and confinement, they have included books and toys for the children affected by the current situation. To be able to protect children to a greater extent, UNICEF has participated in other relief programs as well. For instance, they have utilized risk communications and community engagement interventions to reach more than 3 billion people. Risk communication refers to communicational exchanges between individuals and experts to support people in the midst of the pandemic. When communities had confusions and hardships due to COVID-19 outbreaks, UNICEF contributed through various measures in combating the pandemic to support children and adolescents around the world. Under the organization's primary responsibilities, UNICEF in emergency fully endeavors to reach every child. After the predicament, it serves by providing crucial assistance such as life-saving aid and long-term resolutions. At this moment, UNICEF has provided both financial and humanitarian aid to achieve health care and general welfare of children and adolescents. It was beside each and every person by the province of medical personnel to prevent further deaths with medical assistance. UNICEF has been at the front line to provide information, deliver supplies like personal protective equipment or PPE to keep vital health services. Additionally, UNICEF is strengthening hygiene levels and supporting medical personnel.
Furthermore, as one of the foremost leaders in the COVAX facility, UNICEF collaborates with Gavi Alliance and World Health Organization for global equitable access to COVID-19 vaccines for herd immunity. It has enabled 92 low and middle income countries to deliver the vaccine. With UNICEF's efforts to alleviate the pandemic, millions of children and adolescents were able to be ensured of their essential needs. For the acceleration, UNICEF persistently cooperates with governments to prioritize their provision on critical needs of children and families. Indeed, UNICEF has been an organization that has been endorsing and advocating global attention to children and adolescents in emergency circumstances, as well as its contributions. Even if the COVID-19 pandemic had induced calamities in diverse spaces of the world, UNICEF has highlighted its significance and feasibility to proceed forward. The foreword of the UNICEF Annual Report 2020 affirms, but UNICEF cannot do it alone. The long-term, large-scale change that children and young people require is only possible through concerted action and partnership. With the cooperation with relevant UN entities and NGOs, UNICEF has been holding and has the potential to conduct Leaving No One Behind to its fullest extent.
These prompt responses to emergencies amidst the pandemic were able to occur because the organization had a strong foundation and systematic campaigns years before the pandemic. Before further elaborating on the explicit initiatives that UNICEF advocates in encouraging the healthcare and welfare of younger people, we should be first acquainted with the conceptual frameworks of UNICEF as well as its indicators. Countless promising frameworks of positive indicators and child well-being indicators have been created in recent years. Frameworks are comprehensive in describing an extensive spectrum of essential domains of child well-being. Analyzing the framework, it elaborates the context of components that influence children and adolescents' well-being, including physical, psychological, cognitive, social, and further domains. Hence, in this section, we would like to dive deeper into the works of UNICEF in the physical and mental health of children. UNICEF is the world's leading supplier of vaccines to both developed and developing countries, which demonstrates its commitment to child survival. Over the years, they have been holding national immunization campaigns, vaccinating children against measles, polio, and more. These previous immunization campaigns, hosted by UNICEF, have especially proved to be a great advantage amidst the pandemic. Specifically, with UNICEF supplying more than 10 billion doses of oral polio vaccines since 1988, the polio assets have been particularly useful for responding to the pandemic. The fact that the UNICEF networks were already in place served as a key attribute in the fight against COVID-19. Many countries where UNICEF was proceeding on with their polio vaccine campaigns like Venezuela, Japan, New Guinea, and Nigeria all had the Polio Emergency Operations Center, a structured center where all the partners organize strategy for the mission in a cohesive manner. Systemically, it is divided into subgroups such as surveillance, epidemiology, infection prevention, risk communication, and community engagement. These divided roles of the Polio Operations Center were immediately utilized in responding to COVID once the outbreak had started, given their experiences with outbreaks of polio and other diseases. As our guest speaker, Ms. Yamaguchi, has mentioned in her lecture, hotlines were made in the Polio Emergency Center were utilized to become COVID hotlines. Additionally, community mobilizers for polio in a number of countries already had the knowledge and expertise needed. For instance, UNICEF Nigeria had difficulties in delivering polio vaccines to neighboring children. Utilizing these data and experiences from the polio campaigns, they were able to come up with feasible and effective methods to be able to reach out to children during the pandemic. UNICEF could address the situation more respondent and efficiently, with such a strong foundation and works of UNICEF regarding the immunization works of polio in the previous year. Concerning SDG 3, number 3, good health and well-being imply the well-being of children, not only physically, but also mentally as well. The lockdown and stay-at-home orders measures have induced children to be more vulnerable to violence, abuse, and neglect. UNICEF had continuously built and developed child protection programs throughout the years and was able to transfer the data and experiences in the platform well onto the pandemic. One of the most extensive campaigns that UNICEF has been striving towards to combat violence against children is the End Violence campaign. This campaign aims to strengthen child protection systems as powerful tools to end violence, exploitation, and abuse in their multiple forms and across all contexts. Behind this launch of the End Violence campaign lies the INSPIRE framework created by UNICEF. INSPIRE is an evidence-based resource for everyone committed to preventing and responding to violence against children and adolescents, from the government to grassroots, civil society, and the private sector. It serves as a technical framework to implement effective and comprehensive programming to combat violence. Over the years, UNICEF had continuously strived to implement the 7 strategies of INSPIRE and encourage laws that ban violent punishment of children by parents, caregivers, and teachers. Based upon this general framework of the INSPIRE strategy, UNICEF took advantage of this framework to implement similar strategies to combat violence amidst the pandemic, especially in the pandemic where it is harder for groundworks to protect the children. They call all governments to ensure that COVID-19 prevention and response plans integrate age-appropriate and gender-sensitive measures in protecting children and using already established law works during the INSPIRE program as a basis.
Partnerships are the heart of UNICEF, especially as UNICEF oversees many areas to protect the good health and well-being of children worldwide. The partnerships of UNICEF allow them to expand their reach. As a UN-affiliated organization, frequent collaborations with UNHCR or other relevant UN entities can be observed. Frequently, UNICEF collaborates with UNHCR, urging action to end childhood statelessness when stateless children are not recognized in any state's domestic law. They have severe disadvantages in essential services such as healthcare and education, and can also expose children to protection risks. Focusing on protecting the health of children is multidimensional in that many other global issues like SDG number 2, hunger, number 6, clean water and sanitation, and number 5, gender equality, and number 4, education is closely related. Nearly half of all deaths in children under 5 are attributable to undernutrition. Undernutrition puts children at greater risk of dying from common infections and also delays recovery. As a solution to this, UNICEF and WFP jointly collaborated with other stakeholders to coordinate the nutrition emergency at national levels, mobilizing resources and financially supporting the implementation of the nutrition emergency response and facilitating food security and nutrition assessments. UNICEF also works to emphasize the education of children, which directly contributes to the healthy lives of children. This is because education can lead to accurate health beliefs and knowledge, and thus to better lifestyle choices, better skills, and greater self-advocacy. Therefore, UNICEF, UNESCO, and WHO previously launched a campaign called Health Promoting Schools, where health education contents are introduced to the school curricula, as well as healthcare services such as medical examinations inside of school. Such advances in health promotion were applied in many schools across the world. In the pandemic outbreak, where children are unable to attend school, WHO and UNICEF on-ground volunteers established a strong bonding between the community to deliver correct information about immunization targeting parents. Apart from the UN-affiliated organizations, UNICEF also strives towards cooperating with NGOs to achieve sustainable development goals. For instance, as our lecturer has mentioned in a lecture, healthcare gender barriers and underlying power dynamics at the household and community level hinder equal immunization amongst children. To reduce gender disparities in immunization, Gavi and UNICEF-supported countries are encouraged to analyze and understand how coverage varies by sex, income, and geographic location to help identify reasons for low immunization coverage in certain groups. As Ms. Yamaguchi mentioned, efforts to better understand gender-related barriers and activities are made with on-ground personnel. For instance, in settings where it is considered inappropriate for a woman or girl to see a male vaccinator or health worker, UNICEF and Gavi send support to help ensure that female health workers are available to provide immunization services. Like such, UNICEF's overarching partnerships with many other UN-affiliated groups and NGOs aid to resolve not only the Sustainable Development Goals 3, good health and well-being, but also other sustainable development goals that influence children.
Being aware that UNICEF preserves its efforts to eradicate the predicament that endangers children and adolescents with the primary objective of saving children's lives, it is consequential for the International Children's Fund to wisely conclude its priorities. As mentioned earlier, UNICEF's assistance to children, child protection, child survival, and UNICEF in emergencies and its relation to children and adolescents' healthcare and welfare will be elaborated with its strategies. These qualities are, and they should be, the foremost qualities that society prioritizes. Without any attempt to resolve these issues by protecting children of promoting policies and further assistance, then certainly neither sustainable development goals nor the utmost objectives of the UN can be attained. Since children should be guaranteed vital social services and fair justice systems, child protection is the cornerstone of society. UNICEF's strategy to eradicate the issue diminishes the critical factors in vulnerable populations. Its strategic outputs suggest resolutions in elevating child protection infrastructures to ultimately reduce child suffering from violence. Its vision clearly states a world where all children are free from violence, exploitation, abuse, neglect, and harmful practices. Following this, it aimed to strengthen data and research, advocate for national legislation and accountability, build capacity protection, and develop partnerships from nationwide to a global extent. UNICEF has particularly focused on areas in health system strengthening approach. To list UNICEF's essential points, these are the main points that UNICEF contemplates for action in health system strategies, also known as the HSS, and furthermore, they can serve as the grounds of resolutions that engage in eradicating the negative facets. Primarily, the HSS is striving to address critical emergencies consisting of both one, implementing short-term resolutions, and while keeping the long-term resolutions in sight. One priority is to exceed the examination and analysis to formalize contingency planning and emergency response capacity. Yet undoubtedly, it is true that concerns of health security and emergency condemnation influence the international compromise of HSS. Therefore, UNICEF in emergencies is the fundamental principle that UNICEF concerns. For the risk factors that should be addressed promptly, UNICEF has set its mitigation measures to build and support public conception and advocate governments. Thus, it offers an opportunity to first, leverage attention to, and two, funding to establish health systems which are also prepared for emergencies and are resilient. In emergency situations that need to be approached promptly, UNICEF supports care, supplies, and protection in 190 countries when an emergency occurs. For instance, there exists UNICEF's short-term emergency distribution of water supplies for healthcare in 2020. With significant and great progress achieved by coherent and transparent global development agenda from UNICEF to eradicate the root causes of the problem at hand, UNICEF discerns the essential need to enhance analysis of child-related SDGs to increase its duty to fulfill its commitment.
Likewise, UNICEF has been devoted to ensuring healthcare and the well-being of children's lives in a global scale. Its competence and commitment have been highly endorsed by diverse communities and countries around the world. What would have happened to the world without international children's funds? As one of the fundamental bodies of the United Nations, UNICEF is certainly valuable in a society. As well as during the pandemic by taking measures to protect children's physical and mental health, nonetheless, it was not only UNICEF's own endeavors to maintain the objectives of the United Nations concerning posterity. Other relevant UN entities and NGOs have jointly contributed to health and welfare of children and adolescents. UNICEF acknowledges their genuine contribution, also appreciates and discerns the value for cooperation. Following this, When UNICEF highlighted the initiatives through addressing measures including polio and other diseases before the emergence of COVID-19, it has stimulated further campaigns and activities which can be enhanced by cooperating with COVAX Facility and Gavi Alliance. Indeed, the pandemic was an unprecedented occurrence. However, UNICEF has perceived the situation as another opportunity to proceed wholeheartedly with its engaging experiences and insights. Therefore, acknowledging and appreciating the resolutions and strategies that UNICEF has planned, we could further imagine that youth's perception would be crucial as well.
To add on, we have contemplated further to exactly clarify and examine the value of youth. We have surveyed youth in our age, informed and instructed them about the UNICEF and Sustainable Development Goals via Instagram. Summarizing the results, before they were informed of the contributions of UNICEF, only 7% to 30% of the viewers stated that UNICEF had contributed highly to the society, and minimum 56% to 71% of the viewers said that they knew about the SDGs. Yet, after posting a short infographic regarding the works of UNICEF and about the SDGs, the perspective of UNICEF works have changed, with over minimum 33% to maximum 80% of viewers stating that UNICEF highly contributes to the society. Additionally, the same youth have placed a higher value on the SDGs. However, we have to bear in mind that this Instagram post was only posted for 24 hours, surveyed against a small testing group, but we were still able to see drastic changes in the youth's opinion. Hence, we believe that UNICEF has the potential to further enhance their commitment, and we look forward to seeing this unfold in the future, utilizing social media platforms more frequently to interact with youth, opening their ears and eyes for the future generation.
The fact that you are all here listening to our presentation indicates that we all hold a certain kind of privilege in our own hands. The ability to be educated, discuss, and present on these important issues is something that many youth in the world are not able to do so. What should we do with this immense gift we received? I hope it is clear that we should take this privilege not for granted, nor as something to flaunt to others. Rather, we should use this opportunity to contribute to society, and especially the children and adolescents around the world, who have yet to gain this kind of experience we are immersed in. UNICEF and attaining SDG 3 precisely is one of the milestones that can lead to this improved state of the world, one where all adolescents and children have the equal opportunity to step up and achieve their full potential. Specifically, addressing the issues that plague the health and well-being of children should be the very first and most crucial step in bettering their lives. For if one does not feel safe or healthy, what more can they do? If we are mobilized together in this effort, I believe we can bring about true change in the world. We are the youth, and as the future generation, we can improve the world for the better. If not us, then who? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, questions? 잠시만요. 지금 화면이 안 보이지? I'll give floor to Rachel and then Seoyeon.
Hi. So during the presentation, you mentioned that child protection and child survival are priorities of the UNICEF. But then how does UNICEF prioritize one among multiple crises when they all seem equally important but cannot address the issues simultaneously?
May I answer to that question or?
Yes.
Okay, so essentially there are 9 objectives or principles that UNICEF abide by, but since our topic is about the Sustainable Development Goal 3, good health and well-being, we only included child protection, survival, and UNICEF in emergencies. But also I believe that all of those 9 objectives are really crucial, but UNICEF has its own strategy to address when the emergency circumstances have emerged. So I think, I believe that UNICEF would abide by their own strategy, but as we mentioned earlier, there will be some kind of exceptions because they are still emergencies, but still, I think, I believe that UNICEF would abide by their own strategies, such as like 2020 health security strategies. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next, I want to go with Hayan.
Hello, and I really enjoyed your presentation about UNICEF's role and what you're going to do in the future. And I've also really liked that you actually had a poll in Instagram. But I want to ask you that I felt like you said that you're gonna advertise to change the youth perception with the social media, but I felt like the people in the poor countries or those that are not able to access to internet well are more vulnerable to those inequalities. So I want to ask you, how are you going to tackle with that issue?
Can I answer to that question, or is there anybody who wants to respond?
Oh, you can go first and then I'll add on to what you said.
Okay, so first of all, thank you for your genuine question. And the reason why we are promoting this like activities and like campaigns is because to like change, as you mentioned, like change the perception of youth in our society. And our team believes that if we change our mind and if we change our perception, then we will be willing to help the vulnerable population in other places in the world. So I think this is just the initiative that to support the children there in like South Africa and like who are confronting those inequality or like severe emergencies. And Grace can add on to that.
Yeah, just to add on the Instagram, the reason why we did the Instagram poll was to target youth of like in similar eco-social economic conditions like us, so that we can help to strive towards those to children who needs help. So the campaign wasn't initially for those in like developing countries who need help, but rather those who are privileged enough to have these good conditions so that we can all help together and harmonize to reach the Sustainable Development Goal 3.